It's top of the hour and it's time for Making a Difference. I'm your host, CJ Metcalfe. And on this show, I like to interview people in the community that make a difference in other people's lives. And my show has gained great popularity with people that are interested in my show. So I hope you find today's subject matter interesting as well. May I remind you that we are sponsored by the Gulf Theater at the Military Heritage Museum. We thank them for their sponsorship, and if anybody else would like to sponsor my show, they can do so by contacting WKDW, the radio show. All right, let's get this going. I am just really excited about today. My guest is a genealogist. Blah, ah, okay. She is with the Hickory Bluff chapter of Daughters of the American Revolution, and that is abbreviated D.A.R. And she does a lot of the genealogy research. So, for those of you that have some questions about your heritage and your background, she's going to hopefully guide us in the right direction as far as researching that. So, may I welcome Kathy Adamo. I screwed it up. I knew I was going to do that. Adamo.
Adamo.
Adam. Okay.
It's
I am
fine.
so sorry. I am so
That's
sorry. I
okay.
messed that up.
We could
Um.
go with the maiden name, Jameson.
Oh, I like that. That's
Yeah.
easy. Jameson. Yeah. um. All right. Kathy, my goodness, I've got so many questions to ask you, and I know our listeners are going to be curious to hear what we have to say, and they probably have questions themselves. So I'm going to try and think out of the box and think what the listeners would want to know.
Okay.
Okay, first off,
Sure.
DAR, from what I know, is one of the most respected um, organizations that does the correct paperwork on genealogy, correct?
That is absolutely correct.
I mean, if anybody's questioning your heritage, if you have DAR paperwork, that's concrete.
It's kind of like the gold standard. Yes.
Yes, yeah. And so if you have paperwork from DAR, and let's say you have a niece that
hmm
wants to join, what would she have to do to join?
So the first thing is you have to be 18 years old or older, and we have to prove direct lineal descent from her to a patriot who has served in some capacity towards the founding of America or the towards the American Revolution. So that means a man. It doesn't have to be. He doesn't have to serve in the service. He could have done anything. Or females. We have female patriots too, but there has to be direct evidence to support the lineage from her to that patriot. So,
Okay, so if it was my niece and I'm a
uh-huh.
DAR member, if it was my niece, what would she have to prove?
So if it's your niece, she would have to prove, first of all, we have to check to see if there's any problems with the patriot that you had gone in under, because sometimes things happen and they have found mistakes that have happened. So we check to make sure that the lineage is still good. If the lineage is still good, then we would need her birth certificate, her parents' birth certificate, and that would probably be it because you share, your mother would have been her grandmother. So that would have already been proven. So the only thing that we would have to do is prove something that hasn't been proven before, which would be her birth date, her birth certificate, and then her parents, because they're not in the lineal descent from you to the patriot, because it's either a brother or sister of yours. Correct?
Correct. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I want to explain to those of you that are watching on the internet or YouTube, the hat that I have on today. This is a DAR um, heritage hat. It's called a mop hat.
Mhm.
And this is a hat that was worn by those early women back in the 1700s. It covered up their dirty hair and and all of that. They hid it all up in there. There's a reason why they dressed how they did. That's all I.
Probably kept the lice in too.
Oh, yuck. Yeah, right, right,
Uh,
right. Okay. If someone is wanting to see if they maybe
mhm.
should pursue DAR, what can they do to look into their background? Let's say, there maybe I have a relative, a distant relative. Like, is there ancestry.com? What is the best place to go search that out?
So there's many different avenues. However, most of them are paid subscriptions. So I know Ancestry.com is a paid subscription. Family Search is not. I found, though, to navigate and creating a tree on Family Tree kind of difficult. So I lean towards Ancestry.com. I found it to be more user friendly, and I find a lot more hits for documentation on Ancestry as well. So there is a 30-day free trial, so you can get started and start your tree there. And believe it or not, within 90 minutes or less, you can sometimes tell if you have a patriot or not. The other thing is you can always start with you. You always start with yourself and build from there. So gather knowledge from your parents if they're still around, and especially your grandparents if they're still there. Document, document, document. I started when I was 13 years old and I kept bugging my grandparents. What do you know of your parents? Where were you born? When were you born? Do you know anything about your ancestors? What have you heard? So I just wrote these little teeny notes down in a book, um, and I just kept a journal of it all. And believe it or not, before you knew it, I was there. And so
Well,
that's what I would say. Start a tree on Ancestry. You can do it for free, and then just talk to family. You can talk to your aunts, uncles, whoever you have close to you. That's where I would go.
I have heard on Ancestry to be careful of those green little leaves that are hints
Correct.
because they can definitely take you down the wrong path.
That is absolutely true. You
Yeah.
do have to take a look at the hints. Sometimes they're very good, sometimes they're not so good. And you really have to be careful about other people's trees. Remember that this is information that other people are putting in. It may not be reliable and it may not be well sourced. So you have to make sure you have that piece of documentation in your hand that says so and so was the son, child, daughter, father, mother of whoever you're trying to make the connection with. And it doesn't always have to be a vital record. Vital records are birth certificates, death certificates, marriage records. It could be, an obituary. It could be a newspaper article. I actually had one that was in, it was George's dead, the Black Book, which unfortunately her ancestor shot and killed somebody, and that was published, but it did say he was there with his son, which now proved the link that that was his son. And that was the only link that we had. And D.A.R did accept that.
Oh my goodness. Well, okay, so like find a grave, is that
Mhm.
reliable?
Find a grave can be very reliable as far as the actual place of death and date and the person. However, if you're looking on Find a Grave and you see all the ancestors listed, you that does not prove lineage unless the headstone says, Samuel Babcock, son of Samuel Babcock, and whoever, Mahitable Pierce. So if it says that on the headstone, that's golden. A lot of headstones don't because I think they had to pay per line. But it
Okay.
was some of them say beloved daughter, beloved son. Those do count.
Okay, and then there's also, I believe you said it there, family search. Isn't that put on by the Reorganized Church of Latter-day Saints, which supposedly has this huge library of
Yes,
valid documents?
that is correct. The Seventh Day Adventists or Mormons are the keeper of the records. So Ancestry is also supported by them. That's who runs Ancestry.com. And so does Family Search. So they have the largest repository of all these documents in
And
Salt Lake City.
of course, there's the no questions asked DNA.
So DNA is getting tricky, right? But in the past, it was you could not use autosomal DNA. You had to just go from male to male to male. You could start with yourself, but you would have to find a nephew or a brother and go from there. However, DAR has now started accepting autosomal DNA. I'm not that big on the DNA side of it. There are a lot more DNA genealogists that can work with you on that to get into DAR. However, there is one state person that has been designated that. I'm not currently sure what her name is, but I could find out. So, are you talking about adoption cases?
Okay, yes. Wow. I bet that would be a real eye opener, wouldn't it?
Yes, it is.
Be prepared.
Oh,
You never.
anytime you do DNA, you need to be it's always fun to say, "Oh, let's do our DNA," but you need to be aware that there could be things that you just didn't know about, and surprises happen all the time.
Yes. Oh, so um, if someone wanted to have their genealogy done, do they need to be a member of DAR to get
No.
their list?
No. So if they are interested in joining DAR and they have stated that they would like to see um, if they have a patriot, we start with them and then we ask them we have a genealogy form that we start and it goes up to great grandparents. And then from there, I kind of consider it a two-way relationship. It's our job to find a patriot for the prospective member. It's the prospective member's job to order whatever documents are necessary and to obtain whatever we cannot find free in order to complete her application.
I know, like, I was in the process of researching mine. I needed to get a death certificate
Mhm.
out of the state of Oklahoma. And because I know my uncle died there.
Right.
He died in an oil field of all things. But anyway, in contacting Oklahoma, they required $15 fee to research this. So I sent them the $15 fee, never heard another thing. Not a thing. And I I was like, well, okay. So I guess no news is no info. I mean, it just happens. You're going to have to take some risks, in
Well,
order to.
most of the time we have good information. And I personally, when I was registrar, I would not ask somebody to purchase a document until I found a patriot for them. Because I don't want somebody ordering all these documents and paying money. Some documents are $5, some are up to $25 each. So prior to us asking them to purchase documents, I would have to have a very, very good um, understanding that there is a patriot for them out there.
Okay, wow. Um, that is wonderful. Now, the ladies of
Hmm.
D.A.R, because the men are called S.A.R, which is Sons of the American Revolution. But let's talk about D.A.R, specifically the Hickory Bluff chapter. Kathy, why don't you tell me a little bit about the chapter and what you guys do there?
So our Hickory Bluff chapter is we're all non-for-profit organization, and we are a service organization, meaning we actually do stuff within the community. So I've just become regent, and I have a plan as to some of the things that thank you as to some of the things that I would like to do for our community. Um, we do volunteer work. We have adopted a cemetery. It's the Hickory Bluff Cemetery off of Rowland Avenue, which is down in Charlotte Harbor. We 2 or 3 times a year go there. We maintain the cemetery. We've received at least 3 grants so far in beautifying it. We also service the veterans. We go to the schools. We have done, oh, there's so many countless things that we have done, CJ. We have adopted a classroom, and we donated all these at Christmas time, and we donated Christmas presents to them. And the teacher said that a lot of these children were in the underprivileged area, and this would be their only toys that they would receive. So we made
Oh,
sure that they were educational toys, like but fun as well. So like Monopoly Junior, so that they can learn about exchanging of money and property and how things like that and counting. So we've done that. You can see on our webpage the many upcoming events that we have done. We do go to naturalization ceremonies, and we welcome all the newly naturalized citizens. We are getting into Wreaths Across America this Friday at the Restlawn Memorial Gardens. We're going there, and we're placing flags on all the veterans' graves. So there, we range in things that we do from giving and service that we provide to a whole host of things.
it sounds like you're very supportive of the community.
Yes, we are.
I know you have an extensive library area to your chapter as well, in what you do with books and children. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
So what we have done so far is we had donated to the what is it called, Mid County Library. There's a genealogical section in there that is part of Charlotte County Genealogical Society. We donated over $500 or $600 worth of genealogical books, and as part of my new Regents project for my plan, I had, well, it was kind of threefold. I know I'm ambitious, right? So I wanted to complete the set of all the books that we had donated, which would come out to 28 books and $642.
Oh,
So my mom has recently passed away. And when I discussed what my Regents plan was with my mother prior to her passing, she went ahead and purchased all those books. So those books will be donated to our library for all of our community to do research. For this is specifically for one state. It's Maine, and it's the Maine Genealogical Society's books.
that
Thank you.
that is just that's awesome. How cool. How cool is that? Okay, so if someone wants to come and check in on a meeting and check you
Hmm.
out,
Yeah.
when and where and what time?
So we meet the second Thursday of the month, beginning from October until May. So the best thing that they can do is either email myself at regent@hickorybluff.net or the registrar at registrar@hickorybluff.net and um, ask just ask them if they could come. They would like to join and they would like to see what we're all about. We meet at 5, well, we have social time at 5:30 in the evening because we are an evening chapter, and our program begins at 6 p.m. We're usually over by 8, so it's not too late for people to be driving home.
And then you have dinner there, right? I
Oh,
mean,
yes.
you
Yes.
purchase a
Yes.
dinner ticket and
That
have
is
it's
correct.
kind of part of the socializing time, isn't it?
Yes, we meet at the Venice, or excuse me, at the Charlotte Harbor Yacht Club, and our tickets right now, or it's 25 or $26 for dinner, and that includes your coffee, tea, your hot entree, and a dessert, and then all
That
the wonderful presentations that we have.
and the
We have.
wonderful company.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Oh, now they don't have to wear uniforms or anything
Oh
like that
no.
to the meeting. No,
No, we
it's
just ask for business attire, just no flip flops or t shirts or shorts. It's the yacht club rules too, so we have to abide by them.
we're looking for those of you in the radio audience coming up on the screen. We've got some of the events that DAR has been involved with and is going to be involved with that are coming up from all the way from October on into 2023. I believe that schedule showed, but
Hmm.
you know, you guys do so many and so much. It's unbelievable. I believe recently, the most recent thing was the honor flight where your
Yes,
chapter attended the
yes.
honor flight where they landed in Punta Gorda, and you went there and gave tribute to all the returning veterans. And I also know that you're involved pretty deeply with the Military Heritage Museum, which is, my favorite. I talk about it a lot on this show. So, you and I want to tell everyone out there that there are chapters of D.A.R. all across the state. The Hickory Bluff chapter happens to be in Port Charlotte. That would be the nearest one for anyone living in Port Charlotte. And there's another one in Punta Gorda. It's called Charlotte Bay. So, it's just a matter of finding the chapter that you're the most comfortable with. So, I'm going to have Kathy back on again sometime. That we need to delve into this further. So, Kathy, I hope you'll come back. And
Absolutely.
I want to say thank you to everyone for listening. We will see you next Thursday.